All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are live with the Lazy Lab podcast, episode 6. So cruising along, pumping away at a couple episodes a month. And we are here with episode 6. It's a special episode because today we are talking about the Army. Why? Well, you may have noticed that today when you're watching this beautiful show and sharing it with your friends and telling everyone about it and subscribing, you'll notice that it's also the Army birthday. So happy birthday to the Army. No, we will not sing a song, but yes, we will talk about the Army. We won't put you all through the torture of that. I have 2 friends with me today. We have a third one that'll be joining us here shortly as he gets ready to come online. But we have Chaps, Timothy Fary, who you've seen on the show before, and then we have a new friend, Michael Flint, who's an acquisitions officer for the United States Army. So lots of Army experience, definitely out of ranks for me. I'm an Air Force guy, as you all know. And looks like our other guest has joined. So let's bring him in before we kick things off with some prayer. And Dynamite. What's up, my man? Good. How are you?
I'm great.
Nice. So that we got Dynamite. So those of you that don't recall, Dynamite's is a member of the Lazy Lab family. And if you go back to episode 1 of the podcast, he was on the show. He's also my co-host from Vet Pivot, which was a precursor show to the Lazy Lab podcast. So welcome back to the show, Dynamite. Super glad to have you. Also an Army guy. So here we are. I'm going to turn it over to Chaps. He's gonna pray for the episode and pray for us, and it's going to be great. And then we're going to get into it.
Awesome.
All right. If you'd like to, bow with me in prayer. Father, your spirit inspired the psalmist to write that you make the springs gush forth in the valleys. They flow between the hills. They give drink to every beast of the field. The wild donkeys quench their thirst. Beside them, the birds of the heavens dwell. They sing among the branches. From your lofty abode, you water the mountains. The earth is satisfied with the fruit of your work. We thank you for the opportunity that we have to enjoy your great creation as we follow your mandate to subdue it and have the opportunity to spend time and worship you through the beauty of your creation. We ask your blessing on this show, that you would give us the words to speak, to reach our audience and send forth the message of how we are seeking to serve you by serving others. And I ask this in your most precious and holy name. Amen.
So the prayer was great. Thank you so much, Chaps. I really appreciate that. You have such a way with words, my man. You really do. I cannot unmute you, Michael, but that's okay. I wanted to go around and get some more context behind each of you, aside from Chaps, because he's done it before. But Dynamite, tell us about your Army service, and then we'll go over to Michael, who can tell us a little about his Army service, and we'll jump into why you guys joined the Army.
I still don't know that one, but let's see. I joined in September of 2005 as an infantryman, did basic training at Fort Benning, and then got shipped off to Fort Stewart, Georgia with 3rd Infantry Division, where actually I met Chaps at 2-7 Infantry. And
Baylors.
By God. And did 15-month deployment with Chaps to Iraq. And 4 years later.
Which Chaps has told me would not have happened had he been an Air Force chaplain. Yeah. Context there. I guess Air Force chaplains stay in the chapel, and Army chaplains get assigned to the unit and work alongside them. Interesting note.
True story.
Yeah. Well, I gotta tell you, it was amazing having him there, though.
Really it was 15 months long, but it felt like 30.
Yeah. It's just long enough. You're just like, you know what? I don't think I even want to go back. Just keep us here.
And
This makes sense now.
And Dynamite, you got a family, you're family man.
I do.
You are still in Georgia, correct? And
Yes, I
doing
am.
your thing.
I am.
Wearing your Harley Davidson hat.
That too.
How is the bike? Is it good?
Oh, I'm loving that bike. Yeah.
Nice.
About to get some new pipes on there, so I'm excited about that.
There you go. All right. Okay, we'll kick it over to Michael. Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, I was just asking Dynamite there what kind of bike he had.
Oh,
Ooh.
I have a 21 Street Bob.
Oh, very nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've got a 2014 Street Glide Special.
Oh, nice.
Had that. I bought it brand new from the dealer in California, right outside of Fort Irwin. And my wife and I, we both really enjoy being on that thing. But,
Yeah, I love taking my wife on rides. She grew up around bikes, so it's second nature to her, So
good times.
yeah.
But
I had a Cannondale once.
I believe I grew up on a Huffy.
Solid.
certainly much healthier, but I think Dynamite and I will go a whole lot faster and a whole lot further.
That's right.
But hey, so for all the listeners and the people out there that don't know me, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever you're at right now. But Major Michael Flint. So I joined the Army, I think I actually signed on the dotted line in kind of the late spring of 2003. We'll get into the whys and kind of how I got to now in a little bit, but I really didn't know a lot about the military, or I didn't understand many things about the military. And so I joined the reserves. I enlisted, and I knew that I wanted to be an officer, and I knew that I wanted to kind of try to go off and be a pilot. And so the route that I took was I decided to go enlisted, ROTC through the simultaneous membership program. And for the people that aren't familiar, you are simultaneously a member of either the Guard or Reserves and ROTC. So you kind of do sort of a weird green to gold, but not green to gold kind of thing to become an officer. And then ended up getting my wish and became a pilot. I got my first choice. I was high enough on the OML, I guess low enough technically, that I got my first pick of helicopter, which was the AH-64 Apache. But then as it turned out, they said, hey, there's going to be a 6-month hold. They just switched suppliers for helmets. And I was like, I don't want to sit here for 6 months and just sit in a room at Fort Rucker. So I said, well, what else is open? And I'm not going to have to wait for it. And they said, well, there's Chinooks, and that's about it. So I chose Chinooks. Went up to Fort Drum, did 5 years up at Fort Drum. For anybody that's not been up there, it's as hard as people say it is. -60 with wind chill for 5 straight days. My first winter up there.
Oh.
Yeah, not great. So did a few years up there. Spent some time out at Fort Irwin as an observer, controller, trainer, and then kind of switched to the dark side. Became an acquisition officer. Went to Naval Postgraduate School, and that's where Matt Mitchelson and I met, and we've been friends ever since, and keeping in pretty good contact pretty regularly. And now I'm living in Delphi. Well, I'm working out of Delphi, Maryland, and I live in Annapolis. I love how the Navy lives, so really enjoy going to those places like Monterey and Annapolis. They're really nice. But I work at the Army Research Lab, doing kind of an S&T broadening assignment, looking at some of our scientific research on the personal side. So I'm married, just got married for the first time a couple years ago. Love my wife to pieces, man. She's great. She's got an amazing daughter that just graduated from Baylor. She'll be going off to medical school here within the next year or so. And we're actually here at the family vacation, on a family vacation in Virginia Beach. So like I said, love those Navy locations. So just having a good time here and hanging out in the bedroom, and everybody's out in the back. And if you hear extra music, it's one of the houses across the way there.
They're on vacation too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Michael and Dynamite. Welcome back to the show. Very excited to have this episode. So, mindful of time and attention spans, I want to jump right into it. So, we're here for a specific reason, right? At the time that this is posted, we are officially celebrating the Army's birthday, which is cool, right? It's old. It's a lot older than the Air Force. There's a lot of tradition there. There's a lot of time and history that goes into it. I mean, your first commander, for crying out loud, was George Washington. So it's cool. It's very cool stuff. I want to get into like what it means to you to have served in the Army, right? Obviously there's jokes for every branch of service, right? And I get the jokes all the time about being in the Air Force, but we choose our branch of service for a reason. And it's something that we do have, pride behind the branch that we serve in. And so just, what were those catalysts for you? Why did you join the Army? And what was one thing that the Army gave you that you're really proud of? I don't care who we start with. Let's start with Dynamite.
Oh man. Well, I knew growing up that I always wanted to join. I didn't know quite which branch. When I was younger, actually, when I was 17, I actually was considering the Navy to be a firefighter. And that was very quickly discouraged at home. I do not come from a military background family.
Why was the Navy? I want to stop there for a second. Why was the Navy discouraged?
In general, the military was discouraged.
The military was discouraged.
Military in general, yeah. So
can we reshape it so that it was the Navy that was discouraged, just in the spirit of today's episode? It was the Navy primarily.
I didn't smell so military. Much like a squid, so that's what it was. No.
And a version of salt water.
I'm the firstborn in the U.S. So, my family comes from Costa Rica where there is no military. So the general understanding of how a military functions was just not something that was available knowledge to my family. So, there was a lot of misunderstanding and whatnot. And then, of course, my dad put his foot down with that. And then I go and join the Army as an infantryman. So, I always joked with him, at that point, I always used to joke with him. See, he should have just let me be a firefighter and I would have been a grunt. So
what's he say to that?
He was even more scared after that. But, he was supportive of it. So it was good.
What did the Army give you that you're, like one thing that you're proud of?
You want me to narrow all that down to one thing that I'm proud of?
Yeah. Come on, you can do it.
That I'm not Air Force, I guess, but
hater.
No, it gave me. I would honestly say it gave me the courage to just push forward when things get hard. Because let's face it, life gets hard. Doesn't matter where you grew up, what kind of a background you grew up in, how much money you have, how much you don't have. You're going to struggle. And I think that's something that was definitely ingrained in me through the Army is just push forward. It's going to suck, but push forward and you will be so much more proud of it when you look back and realize, man, I came out of that. I think I could do just about anything if I came out of that. So yeah. I think that's the one big takeaway that I got from is, you're going to get knocked down, just get up.
Oh, Chumbawamba going on there. Nice. You get knocked down.
Wow.
But you get up again.
I did actually do that and totally didn't realize it. That's awesome.
Go ahead,
Kudos
Michael.
to you for throwing it back to Chumbawamba, by the way. That's awesome.
Go ahead, Michael. What do you got for us?
You called me out to go next because after hearing the chaplain talk, I don't want to have to follow up after him because he's got big shoes to fill. So, but I guess just like Dynamite there, I always knew that I wanted to join the military, and I really wasn't sure what service. One of my childhood heroes, Neil Armstrong, and he did 2 years at Purdue University, 2 years.
That's right. He's a Purdue guy.
Yeah, 2 years at Purdue, 2 years of flying combat mission in Korea during the Korean War, and then finished up his degree. And obviously, I think the rest is history, and I think we should all know what he did after that, at least the big things.
Yeah, he didn't he win all those Tour de France's?
He did.
Oh wait, no, that's different.
On one leg.
Believe it or not, right before I decided to join the Army, like sign up and enlist, it was just after 9/11, and I remember I worked for a company, Ohio National Financial Services, and I was kind of apprenticing, if you will, to become an actuary. And Neil Armstrong actually sat on as a member of the board, and I kind of like caught him like went up to the big house one day for a big board meeting, like say something, and that apparently he doesn't like being approached.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but so anyway, I trying to follow in his footsteps. When 9/11 happened, I said, well, what am I going to do? I was actually working at Caterpillar at the time, and I asked one of my supervisors for some time off to go help up in New York City, volunteer for the Red Cross, do something. And he made some rather disparaging remarks about what he thought about my integrity and my ability to actually do something hard like that. And I was like, man, that's kind of messed up. And so at that point, I was like, okay, it's clear that this is not the company for me to be working for. And so I started looking around. There was a Navy recruiting office just up the road. So I started making visits to them. I thought I was having some good conversations. And then all of a sudden, one day I went in to go talk to the recruiter, and there was a note hanging on the door, said, for anybody interested in Navy officer recruiting, please contact this number. And it was in Indianapolis. And I thought, what the heck's going on? And it said, this recruiting station has permanently closed, and we've moved everything. So my recruiter didn't even tell me that they were closing up shop. So I thought, okay, well, clearly that's a sign from God or from something. Like I'm not supposed to join the Navy. So later on that day, while I was going to school, I walked by, just by happenstance, walked by the ROTC building, went inside, and the Army was on the left side. The Air Force ROTC guys were on the right side. And the Army door to their office was on an automatic thing, and it just closed. And so the door was already open to the Air Force. So I just walked in and went in and hung out with them. I spent a year as a non-contracted Air Force ROTC cadet. And it just never really set with me. I met a lot of really great people and still have friends to this day. Actually, was just chatting with one of them a little bit ago. But that culture, that just never really sat with me. And they never came up with scholarship money. So when they finally said, hey, no scholarship money whatsoever, we need people with a technical degree. Apparently applied mathematics does not qualify as a technical degree for the Air Force. So I walked across the hall and just went to the Army and said, hey, what can you do for me? And they were like, have we got a deal for you? And so the next thing I know, I'm like, signing on the dotted line. And just after, just after 4th of July, I think it was, I got on this little 15-pack van and went up and swore in up at MEPS in Columbus, Ohio, and came out. I think the one thing that has sat very different for me, and the one big takeaway that I've gotten out of the Army that it's kind of given me, is this idea that the Army is very people-centric. And that really has resonated with me my entire career. There's a saying, and maybe it's a little antiquated, but the Navy is obviously very focused on their ships. Matt will tell you that the best ship in the Navy is the LCS, and other people will tell you other things, but they will tell you what their favorite ship or plane or whatever is. The Air Force, everything revolves around the jets, the planes, and the equipment. So other services kind of man equipment, but the Army equips the man. And for us, it's always about the people. And that's one thing that I've taken away, whether it's the difference between leadership or management or whatever. Everything is always about the people. And that's what I've really loved about my time here in the Army.
Right on. That's awesome. Awesome stuff. Thank you. And then we'll go, Chaps. What do you got?
Repeat the question.
Why the Army? Why not the, well, we already know why not the Air Force, but why not, the other branches as well? Trash if you need to. This is
No, I'm not.
appropriate.
I don't think I'll trash talk, but so first of all, like the military, like is the antithesis of I'm like personality type B minus. I'm nothing like any of the other officers. I've got a very small group of things that I think are important, and I just don't care about the rest of those things. I'm not the typical Army officer. And basically, when I knew I had a call to ministry, I knew I had a call to be a minister of word and sacrament. And a friend of the family was pushing me really hard to consider the Army. And I remember when I got to Fort Stewart, at my first active duty assignment, I actually deployed twice with the reserves prior to that. Our division chaplain sat me down and he's like, I'm going to give you an infantry unit. What's your plan? And I was just like, plan? And I finally said, sir, I'm going to go convince him that God's not mad at him. That's my plan. And he was like, you know what? That'll do. And honestly, my whole approach is, I'm a beggar telling other beggars where I found bread.
Yeah.
And, the Army, the first of the Army values is loyalty. And just the relationships that I've built within the Army have just been amazing. How many years has it been, Dave, since we got home? We got home 2008.
April 2008, I believe. Yeah.
And and just the relationships are just so strong to me, it was the right choice. And again, not gonna trash talk any of the other services, but the Air Force tends to worship at the altar of technology. The Navy worships at the altar of tradition, and the Army worships at the altar of service. Service to others, and that just resonates with how God's gifted me and what I like to do within that giftedness.
Yeah,
in ministering to soldiers.
It's really cool. And each of you kind of touched on different aspects of service, which speaks to, in my outsider view, speaks to sort of the breadth of what's available to you in the Army and the types of diversity that you encounter in your career, right? You get to meet so many different people. And when I think about the Army, I think of, just how vast it's big. There's so many people in that branch of service, but the fact that you can maintain relationships and bonds with folks that you served with, 15 years ago, that's pretty awesome, right? I mean, and you think about how many people do you encounter on a daily basis, Chaps, that you can still go back and have a relationship with Dynamite. Michael, you've been in the Army for a long time, right? But you talk about the one thing that stays with you is people and service to people, right? The thing about you equip the person versus, the people maintain the equipment. It's pretty appropriate. It's a cool branch. It's synonymous with service, like military service. If you ask, if you look at a kid today on the street, 5 years old, 6 years old, goes to a Veterans Day parade or something, everyone's a soldier, right? Everyone's a soldier. They're not like, hey, look at that airman. Hey, look at that. Everyone's a soldier to them. That's it. So it's pretty steeped in tradition itself. Chaps. So it's for sure a long time of history and goes way back in the fabric of this country. One thing that I will say is that, you know, the duty stations, I feel like we need to bring this up. Okay, so as an Air Force guy, we got it pretty sweet, right? Living conditions, pretty sweet. So we just talked about why you joined, what you love about it, the one thing you take away. But I would not be the smart aleck airman that I am if I didn't at least bring up living conditions, austere conditions when deployed. I mean, for you, austere conditions when not deployed, field training, all that fun stuff that you have to endure. I just, I want to get your take on that. I want to get your take on what, do you like that? Is it one of those things you're like, embrace the suck? Like, what is it about the Army and its quarters? We'll call it quarters, depending on what the mission is for the day.
For starters, there's nothing wrong with Army chicken that has been marinated with Copenhagen and mud. Okay, it tastes great. You just get used to it.
I don't know what that is. What
You
do you
will.
mean Copenhagen and mud? What are you talking about?
I mean, it may as well be, but no.
We got an acquisitions guy right here. We can make things better. Okay.
I tell you, that was one of the mistakes I always tell people that I made was I deployed 3 times in a 5-year period to Iraq. And my first 2 deployments were with the engineers. And so we would fall in on something awful and they would fix it. Right. By the end of my second tour, I had this little tent and my GP medium had tile floors and it was fantastic. When I deployed with the infantry on my 3rd tour, which was 15 months, we got there and it was like, this stinks. Isn't it great? I was like, whoa. No. They can fix it. The engineers can. And like, no, we're infantry. And I was like, wait, no, it's not necessary.
Just stack some sandbags around it. You'll be good.
Exactly. It was like, I did this in the wrong order.
I feel like a whole lot of room to complain because I being aviation, most of my active career, all of my deployments were with aviation units. So, we flew out, obviously outside the FOB every day. But I did not have life nearly as hard as guys like Dynamite or really Chaplain, even you, where, if you're going out with the guys, and you got to spend like not sleeping back at the FOB in my B hut or my chew, like what's that all about? People do that. So I don't have too much room to talk, but, like the duty locations that you're talking about, or maybe kind of alluding to, like, those were a little tough, coming into the Army a little bit later in life and having a desire, getting orders to New York and thinking, wow, I'll be right outside New York City. It's only that far on the map. How get there? Well, as it turns out, it's this far on the map. It's a whole lot further in real life. And so, wanting to live like an urban lifestyle or something, just isn't in the cards for some people. And, it kind of makes sense. The Air Force, they can hop a jet and go fly around and come back and do their maneuvers there. But people tend to get a little nervous when you do infantry, artillery, and tank operations, armor ops in their backyard in like downtown Manhattan, right? So
yeah. I will tell you, the Air Force, we get a lot of flack for, like, there's constant complaints about jet noise, no matter where the base is, like constant complaints about it.
And the funny thing is some of those people are actually, they move in knowing that they're building a house beneath the active runway flight path. And then they want to complain about it. Like they didn't know it was going to happen. And Army aviation deals with that all the time too. And sometimes it's even from our own people. So.
Really? I mean, you guys actually fly those things? What?
Well, when we're not working on them.
So if you were to give like if you were to put your recruiter hat on for a day, how are you? What are you saying to someone that's thinking about joining the Army?
Here, try this chicken.
Good one. No, but seriously, it's like, what did you wish that your recruiter had said to you? Right. But that didn't send you running for the hills. Right. But you wish that they had at least told you that this one thing that maybe you've been thinking about for the last 15 years.
Do you want to make lifelong friendships that actually become brothers or sisters, that you don't flinch for one moment to be selfless and help them, and knowing that they would do the same? That's accurate.
So that's the pitch. You're talking, hey, you want to...
Do you want to have family forever?
You want a community? You want a family of people that they're not blood relatives, but they're the next best thing?
Correct. And you get to go pew, pew, pew.
You know, I don't know what I would tell him. I might tell him to talk to my son. He's moved. My youngest I think he moved 14 times. He's just turning 18. Maybe not 14. I think it's probably no. His is 12. His older brother is 14. He's moved a dozen times. He's done all this different stuff. And a lot of people would be like, isn't that disruptive? What have you? You know, and then we homeschooled because of that, because, just constantly changing. We needed something a little more constant for his education. But I would tell him to talk to Patrick, because Patrick is about to turn 18 and is looking to enlist and wants to get an option 40 contract and wants to go be an Army Ranger. And that's after living the life. Not having raised his hand for it, having been born into it. That is what he wants to do. And nobody has a better look at the good, the bad, and the ugly than a chaplain's kid. He's seen it. He's even seen the toll that it's taken. At one point when I got back, my kids were, they were, 8, 6, and 4. And that was after my third tour. And I'd been gone half of all of their lives. No, I'm sorry. They were 6. Yeah, they were 6, 4, and 2. But I'd been gone half of their lives. The oldest, I'd been gone for 3 out of his life. And yet here they are, loving the Army. And they've seen it. They've seen behind the curtain. It's not, they didn't watch a recruiting video and go, sign me up, be all that I can be. They've seen the toll, they've seen the difficult part too. But the fact that and how many people have you talked to who have said, why do you serve? And the first thing they said was, my dad served. My uncle served.
There's a lot of people that are legacy service folks, right? They serve because it's a family tradition. They serve because someone they were close to served. It's also pretty common for it to be the same branch of service.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
you don't ever hear GI Bill.
That's
or
right.
Sometimes you might.
Well, I mean, look, as a parent to 3 kids, I'm definitely thinking GI Bill. All right. It's like, hey, why don't you, go, I used to Dynamite. I'll tell you, when I talk transition with folks, out of the military, one of the things that the airman would always say is, I'm saving my GI Bill for my kids. I'm like, no. Like, your kids can go earn their own GI Bill. Like, that's your GI Bill. Like, use it. Like, I used to encourage them, especially if they were thinking about getting out at some point and not doing a career in the military. Like, go get as much education as you can while you're in. And if you have to use your GI Bill, use it. But no, it's really interesting though to to hear that perspective, like from a kid that grew up in the Army, wanting to now be in the Army it's a pretty powerful indicator of, you know, what someone should do. Like they should take cues from a story like that if they're thinking about it, if they're on the fence about it. Who's in that? I think we got Michael. You didn't go yet, right?
Yeah, I think I owe you an answer. So maybe I'm the one person in history of the entire United States Army whose recruiter never lied to him. But I kind of, you know, again, a little bit older, knew what I was getting into. I was, you know, part of that generation of people coming into the military that, you know, as an adult, I got to watch, you know, Fox News, CNN, embedded reporters, and constant bombardment and news feed of what was happening, or through the media's lens, however distorted that may be, got to see things about what was happening from the day the tower went down, and you know, up until now, really. So there were a lot of there was a lot of reality, the lifestyle and everything, that was made very, very clear to me when I decided to leave the Air Force program. And that was the first thing they said. They were like, look, it's a different animal over there. The Army's job, the Army persists. Look at how long they've been in the Middle East, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And here we are almost 20 years later, and we proved that we're still there. We're still doing things.
Yeah.
And like the chaplain pointed out, it's and Dynamite as well. It's not easy. You know, I've moved on average every year and a half to 2 years, if you add everything up. So it is tough, and it takes its toll on families and things like that. But if you're mentally prepared for those things when you go into them, obviously your children don't have an opportunity to prepare for that. It just becomes their way of life. But for me, one of the things, like as an acquisition officer, some of the stuff that I get to see, where as we stood up Army Futures Command, and a lot of the things that are happening as we're building momentum for the modernization enterprise and things, that I get to see glimpses of where our senior leaders want the Army to go. And the one thing that I would kind of explain to anybody that's interested in joining is that things are going to be changing constantly in the Army from now until there is no more Army. So
yeah, that's right.
Changing forever. As we look at kind of that idea that we all talked about earlier about like manning equipment versus equipping the man kind of thing. There's a lot of scientific research going on right now, and a lot of technology development implications that could potentially change the nature of who we are as a service, and change not the fact that we are the land component, but change how we do business a little bit. We're certainly going to add different jobs and new MOSs and new career fields and everything else, just to be able to enable some of these operations. So where, you know, before the Army, we think, when you think Army, you think, you know, Rangers and Special Forces and infantry.
Yeah.
But I think at some point we're going to see a shift, and you're going to start seeing people wanting to join the Army because we have a lot of other things, cyber operations, for example, the linkages that every service has to the new Space Force. You're going to see a lot of technical career fields and a lot of things that are going to be available to people in the Army. And so all of that is going to continually change. And for anybody that's interested in joining the Army, I'd say let take a good hard look at where those things are going, and what may exist for you in the future for that kind of thing.
That's a great point. I mean, obviously, like in a modern military where things are just so jointly connected, right? And it really, you're going to have a chance to play with all the different branches, regardless of what uniform you put on at the end of the day, right? There's you know, we're interconnected in our mission to basically further advance the Department of Defense and that mission set as a whole, right? We kind of rely on each other to do that. Is there? I'm going to pivot gears here a little bit. Is there like is there anything that the Army does like for its birthday? Like what is like tradition? The Air Force birthday is always accompanied by the Air Force Ball and there's always, regalia and things that are going on. Even though we don't have a ton of history, we do have tradition. What is some of the stuff that you expect on a week where it's the Army's birthday?
I was honestly always in the field or deployed when the Army
Sounds
birthday.
about right.
So I can't even say, oh, we got hammered. No, that wasn't it. But no, same thing. There's definitely, there's unit level balls usually, things of that sort. So yeah, I mean, as far as traditions, I don't personally know.
You never got dressed up?
Because I never, we were always in the field. So, I mean, Chaps will tell you, 3rd Infantry Division, it's train. There's a reason it's called the Marne Express, That's literally all we did. Just go to the field, come back for 3 or 4 weeks, go back out to the field. So I don't have a proper answer for you here on that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna just kind of echo that. I was either deployed in the field or anything. Anytime I was in the operational Army, we had like battalion and brigade balls and things like that, but it synchronized more with the deployment schedule than it did with birthday schedules and things. And I think of all the services, though, just maybe my opinion, nobody celebrates a service birthday like the Marine Corps. So whatever those guys are out there doing, I think they win at celebrating their own birthday. But for the rest of us, we get to go to work.
Well, there's the way you put that, I just have like this funny picture in my head, because there's a certain point in your life where you stop caring about birthdays. And I feel like that's maybe that's where the Army is, right? It's like, God, what are we on now? Like number one, who cares, right? But the Marine Corps, they just kind of never grow up, do they? They have to always celebrate their birthday. Yeah, that's a jab at all my Marine Corps friends. No, it's very cool. Go ahead.
I've actually done more invocations at a Marine Corps birthday celebration than I have Army. Like the Army just didn't do it, and I'd be somewhere where the Marines didn't have a chaplain available, and I'd get tapped. And I've actually been to more celebrations for the Marine Corps birthday than I have for the Army birthday in 25 years.
I'm going to piggyback on that, Chaps, because actually when we were deployed together, we fell directly under the command of the Marine Corps, if I'm not mistaken. And so because of that, when the Marine Corps birthday came around during that deployment, they gave us beer as well and had us celebrate with them. 2 beers. I got there before the word came down and said they don't get 2 Guinness, they get 1, but I got 2. So I was lucky that day. I was very happy. I'll play Marine for a day just to have 2 Guinness on deployment.
Yeah, double up on your Guinness. No, it's very, very cool. I want to be mindful of time, and I know that this has been a good show, right? Obviously, we're talking about the Army and the Army's birthday and the celebration and what Army service means to you. I really just want to thank you all for being on the show, for being part of this and sharing part of your experience with the listener. It's awesome. Chaps just sent me a message. I don't know if do you want me to share that, Chaps? Because I would love to. It seems funny.
Mike's off.
No, but it's always a treat. Like I feel really lucky. I said joined the Air Force, but I could have joined any branch of service that just happened to be the first door on the right. It's like, I guess I'll go there, and then that's where I ended up. But I find myself able to make friends with people from any branch of service. And a lot of times the Army, I have a lot of friends in that branch, and just something about the folks in the Army. They're just good people. They will give you the shirt off their back. They're there for you. And it goes back to what you all were saying at the very beginning, right? It's people centric and looking out for one another. Once you have the loyalty, and trust of a soldier, they're going to be there for you no matter what. And that's what's really cool about it. So I love my service in the Air Force, but sometimes, you could have the trust and loyalty of an airman, but if you need them to pick you up from the airport at 5:00 in the morning, they're going to tell you to go somewhere. So it just is what it is. So I just want to echo again, like, thank you very much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing a piece of the Army with us. And for the listener, thank you for tuning in. Okay. If you're interested in the Army, talk to Dynamite. He'll get you in. He's got a great chicken recipe, and he knows.
It's really good. I'll share it with you.
No, but seriously, I bet if you reach out to any of these fellas, they will, they will definitely tell you all about the Army and all the good benefits that you have in joining a branch with so much to offer. So with that being said, this is the end of the Lazy Lab episode. Please subscribe, hit the little bell so you know when we post a new video, and tell your friends about it so that we can grow the eyeballs that are seeing this thing. So I appreciate you. Until next time, please be safe and have fun.
Thank you. Take care.